Hello, everyone. I want to talk about childhood trauma and how it can affect you. Well, childhood trauma is basically it's being raised by a dysfunctional family or toxic family, generally people that are narcissistic in nature, and their narcissistic abuse causes an effect on you that affects you as you grow up. Basically, damages you during childhood when you're still developing. The narcissistic abuse behavior is people who abuse you to get what they want. Narcissists will use tactics to try to get what they want, and they use other people to try to get what they want, and this expectations will end up causing them to act the same sort of way when they grow up. For example, if a child is abandoned by their parents, which is a common case with narcissistic or abusive families. This also includes being around other people that isn't parents, like bullied in school can cause the same sort of trauma, or being around people on a regular basis can also cause trauma. It isn't just limited to parents, but being around siblings or just around people in general that have a sort of toxic, abusive, narcissistic nature. If you're abandoned by someone who's taking care of you, like your parents, or someone else that has is supposed to take the role of taking care of you and they abandoned you, you will grow up worrying that everybody's going to abandon you. You'll start scripting this belief into future relationships like romantic partners, and you'll worry that your partner will abandon you. And this will often cause a sort of relationship style called anxious preoccupied type of relationship style, where you're constantly checking in on the partner, you're worrying that the partner is going to abandon you. And also, what can cause this sort of relationship style is when narcissistic parents will make you feel like you have to meet impossible expectations, like I was mentioning before, where you're constantly trying to do to try to meet this need that you believe that you can finally meet and make them happy, which you can't because you'll never satisfy their needs. But this can also spill into a anxious relationship style as well. You're constantly checking in on the partner. Another form of relationship style that narcissistic abusive families can kind of cause you to have is when you're abandoned. Another sort of abandonment lifestyle is when a child feels like they have to take care of themselves. This can cause a person to feel dismissive around other people. Like when they have a romantic relationship, they will have a dismissive avoidant type of relationship style where they will want to continue to be in a relationship, but they will kind of be sort of distant in the partner, avoid the partner, especially when during times of stress, they'll become even more avoidant. They won't really reciprocate as much in a relationship. They're like the opposite of the anxious preoccupied relationship style, but instead they're avoiding the partner. And this could be both relationship styles can be difficult on other partner. A lot of times, avoidant type relationship style will meet a partner that is anxious preoccupied, and anxious preoccupied will often find an avoidant type partner, which can be tough. And until you heal from this trauma, you will no longer have this sort of unhealthy relationship style. It will then become a secure relationship style, which is the normal relationship style that a person isn't affected by a childhood trauma. Some more things I want to talk about the effects of trauma is that we have different phases of ourselves. We have different forms of ourselves. We have an adult self and a childhood self. Think of the childhood self as you as a certain age and child. There's like a 5-year-old self, there's a 7-year-old self, 10-year-old self, all the way up to teenage years, all the way up to adult. There's different ages of yourself. But your oldest self is considered your adult self, and all your childhood ages you would just call your childhood self, and that is often referred to you as your inner child, which is your basically your child personality, and it's all a part of you. However, unfortunately, when a person who's suffering with childhood trauma, it damages your emotionally your inner child, so it causes your inner child will then have a sort of unhealthy relationship with your adult self. So your inner child will then follow these emotional patterns from the abuse that your parents gave you. So then it will cause an emotionally abused inner child run your life in ways that doesn't quite serve what you want to do. An emotionally damaged inner child can cause you to have unhealthy relationships, like perhaps abusive relationships, or enable abuse. Or on the other extreme, an overrun inner child will cause you to be abusive to another partner due to the abuse from your family passing on. Basically, it causes you to live a script from your parents. So yes, in other ways, your inner child can run you in ways by feeling insecure or causing you to not have control on things that are healthy in your life, like eating good food or going to bed early. Your inner child can run you in those sort of ways too. Your emotionally wounded inner child can also affect you by having doubts, such as not following a good career path. It might prevent you from feeling doubtful about choosing a new job or a better job. So these are different ways your inner child can overrun you, not so positive ways by your abuse from your narcissistic family and toxic people. Now, how do you get rid of childhood trauma? How do you heal from that? Well, one way is to parent your inner child, have a better relationship from your inner child. It takes time, but if there's inner child meditations you can do where you can visualize yourself meeting your inner child and talking to your inner child and just visualizing what you see your inner child has. You'll often see your inner child as being kind of wounded, and so it's a start of building a better relationship. Your inner child will have to develop trust because it's lost trust from your parents, so it won't quite trust you as a parent, but it's your role to parent your inner child. One way to understand the difference between you as a parent and your inner child as a child is that your child is your kind of emotional aspect of yourself. It's your amygdala part of your brain. It runs your emotions. It's part of your fight or flight, part of your thinking. It's part of your brain that activates your fight or flight response. That's kind of where your inner child operates. Your inner child is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. Your inner child is also features your creativity, your enjoyment of listening to good music, enjoyment of eating good food, just having fun. But your parent part of your self is your frontal cortex, which is more reasoning, more mindfulness, more of diligence, mental diligence, making decisions rationally, thinking about what can be good for you and what could be harmful for you. And that's the part where you can parent yourself and parent your inner child. And it's also kind of representation again of your oldest part of yourself, your wisest part of yourself, what you've known most so far, and you can use that part of yourself to parent your inner child and then develop a better relationship. Once you develop a healthier relationship, your inner child will heal and you'll release the trauma. You'll be healed from the trauma. Once you develop a good relationship with your inner child, the trauma will become healed as you have a better relationship. When you don't have trauma, your inner child will no longer run you in unhealthy ways, but instead run in a healthy unit. And then you won't have trauma anymore and you'll live life as a person who's not suffered with childhood trauma. You'll be healed. Another approach you can heal from trauma is seeing a therapist. A lot of therapists use cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a kind of an extensive process and it's kind of beyond the scope of the video, but basically just seeing a therapist is another way that will help you recover from trauma. Well, trauma is not something that is an overnight thing. It takes time, so it takes patience, it takes some steps, but the more you work on healing from trauma, the better you'll get, and then you'll start feeling more confident. You'll start seeing the red flags in unhealthy relationships. You'll start recognizing narcissistic people more. You'll make choices that will serve you more instead of operating from fear patterns, false patterns. Blind spots will blind you from things that you don't see, like in other people that might be a red flag, that might not be a good person to be friends with, that may have ulterior motives, that might harm you in certain ways. You'll be able to remove these blind spots and see people for how they are more instead of operating from past beliefs from narcissistic parents, toxic parents or siblings or bullies who made you see things in sort of a distorted view. And once you see things in the way they're supposed to be, feel more happier and at peace, your life will be much better. Well, I hope this has shed some light on what childhood trauma is and how you can go about healing it. Well, I hope this is helpful. Thanks for watching.